trainings, and I'm also a mentor in the field of mental health. So thank you very much for having me this morning. And Patrick, as you are taking the roll call, I have just realized that it is a countrywide, they are countrywide participants, which is a very good thing because we really need the agenda of mental health be pushed forward to everybody, every individual must be aware of their own mental health and also of others around them. So thank you very much once again, and I would like to now put my presentation on. I hope that you're able to see it. So we'll be looking at matters mental health. I'll give you a small background on matters around mental health, and then we shall look further into staff skill development. Some of the skills that as individuals we should have in order to be able to relate well with fellow workers, in order to be able to relate well with juniors and even with seniors for that matter. So I would like us to begin by just stating a few objectives for our session today. And Patrick, perhaps before I continue, if you can confirm that I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Thank you, Patrick. So our objectives for today, to open conversations about mental health and to normalize its prevalence in the workplace. It is important for us to know the prevalence of mental health at the workplace. The other objective will be to equip employees with tools to create a safe, engaged, productive workplace. So how can we have a workplace that is productive? It really just starts with our mental health. So we'll be able to talk about that as well. The other thing is to support managers to be both compassionate and compliant. So as managers, there are skills that we need to have, and we'll be able to share these skills with you so that in the course of your work, you are able to relate well with your co-workers or your workmates, and even the people that you're providing a service to. So let me begin by just talking about mental health in Kenya in brief. And I wanted to state that depression is the most common illness worldwide. We need to be aware of that. Depression is very common. And I would also like to add that Kenya was ranked position 4 in Africa with 1.9 million people who have the condition. That is depression. That is according to a WHO report of 2014. So you can see how the magnitude of depression in Kenya alone. Then according to the Kenya Mental Health Policy, that is the one for 2015-2030, mental disorder cases in Kenya, they continue to rise rapidly. So that is very true. And it is very evident from the things that we are seeing happening today on the news. Every other day, there's a tragic story on the news of someone who has died by suicide, of someone who has gone ahead to kill somebody else because they are not able to cope. So with that said, it already tells us the challenges that we are already having. Then there's also an estimate point that 20 to 25% of outpatients seeking primary health care present symptoms of mental illness at any one time. That is another fact that we need to be aware of, even at your workplace. When an individual is constantly asking for a sick off, they are unwell, they want to go to the hospital. These are questions we should now ask ourselves. 20 to 25% of people being seen at the outpatient clinic usually will present with mental illness. So this is also key. Sometimes when there is mental illness, they will present like a physical illness. Government statistics indicate that at least 1 in every 4 Kenyans suffer from mental illness at one point in their lives. I had noticed that already by the time we were beginning, I could see around 77, probably there's more now on this wall, on this in this session. And that is to say that out of all these 77, ukihesabu 1, 2, 3, fourth person might have a mental illness. 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth person might have a mental illness. So look around you, not to say that the person next to you has a mental illness, but it is important for us to know the magnitude of mental problems in this country. So I would also like to share why mental health matters. And the Kenya Mental Health Policy of 2015-2013, it states that mental health is a key determinant of overall health and socioeconomic development. And this is why it is important for us to talk about mental health, because without mental health, there is no health. That is the truth. You can have good physical health, body, but without mental health, you find that really there's no quality health. And we have also mentioned socio-economic development. For socio-economic development to be there, and for you as Kudheiha, who are part of our social economy, engaging in different social activities within the workplace, you find that this mental health becomes a very important matter to talk about. Again, mental health matters because it influences individual and community outcomes, which is true, such as healthier lifestyles, better physical health, improved recovery from illness, fewer limitations in daily living, and higher education attainment. There is also greater productivity, even at the workplace. You will notice that when individuals are mentally stable, even productivity is higher. Employment and earnings as well can be found. Then better relationships, which is very important in any work setup as well. And also we are talking about more social cohesion and engagement, and also improved quality of life. So it is to say that mental health, when it is present, it has many benefits, as we have seen or has been stated. And it is important for us, each of us as individuals, first of all, to pursue, to be deliberate about our mental health. So it is also important for us to just briefly talk about the challenges that are facing mental health management and treatment in Kenya. There are a number, but the ones I really wanted to mention, the first one is low awareness. And when we talk about low awareness, you'll find that a majority of the people do not know much about mental illness, that they are not able to tell when a person is mentally unstable or has a mental condition. So low awareness is one of the issues. And we are saying that particularly the symptoms of this condition among the person suffering from the condition and community at large. So that is one of the main challenges. And also the fact that the symptoms will usually affect emotions, thoughts, and behavior, making it difficult to understand and accept. So that is the other thing to do with low awareness. When there is a mental problem, you will find that our emotions are affected. That means how we feel. When we have a mental illness, our thoughts are affected. What we think is affected. And also our behavior changes. And I would also like to mention that there's a connection between our thoughts, our emotions, and also our behavior. So you find that if a person has depression, for example, you find that the way they think will have changed. The way now the emotions also come out will be different. For example, a person with depression, they might start thinking about dying by suicide. They might start thinking things like nobody cares about me. They might start thinking things like, hey, I think my time in this world is over, you know, or I don't want to do anything. I won't shower today. I don't want to go to work. So those are the kind of thoughts that a person who is depressed might start having. And when they have those thoughts, what happens? It also affects their emotions. So that is the time they are low in mood. They are feeling sad. That is the time now they are easily irritable. You tell them something, before you know it, ameshalipuka, and you are wondering what happened. I just said one thing. And then you find that when these emotions change together with the thoughts, even the behavior changes. The person isolates themselves. They used to be a person who liked to interact with others. All of a sudden, they don't want to interact. You call them, they don't pick. You call them the whole day, you cannot find them. And you wonder, hey, what happened? Okay? They no longer want to go out. Sherehe, you know, the way people go out to party. This was a person who used to like to party. All of a sudden, they don't want to do that. So it is partly one of the challenges is low awareness, that we don't understand some of these conditions. And it is because most of the time, it is not being talked about. So I'm glad that we are talking about it and creating awareness even through these sessions. Still on low awareness, we want to say that mental illness is marred by myths and misconceptions. And I know even as we are seated where we are, there are those of us who think that when a person is behaving in a certain way, that they must be cast. We are merogwa, witchcraft. I know that we think that a lot of the times. Ama it is a spiritual problem. Tumkimbize wapi Shakahola or kwa Ezekiel, you know? So we'll start thinking like that. But it is actually the fact that we are not aware that this person is suffering from a certain mental illness. So it is good for us to know that mental illnesses are conditions, some of which can be treated. Those which cannot be treated can be managed. And it is important for us to be aware. Again, on low awareness, more often the affected person resort to isolation and don't seek medical help. So here we talk about self-stigma, that if you're experiencing some symptoms, you find that there are people who might now decide to not talk to anybody about it. The other day, that was last week on Thursday, is when we were celebrating, not rather celebrating, but recognizing. We had the Suicide Awareness Day. And we really extensively talked about suicide, trying to tell persons who are depressed, who are thinking about dying by suicide, that they need to be able to speak to somebody they trust. Come out, please say that you are feeling this way and that way. And from that, you will be able to get help. So there's self-stigma. Nobody wants to be associated or to be looked at like they have a mental illness or a mental disorder. Everybody wants to feel they're okay. Everybody wants to feel they're normal. But if it so happens that you are feeling depressed, you are feeling anxious, and other problems, you are seeing things and hearing things that others are not seeing and hearing, it is better to talk to somebody or go to an institution like Madare where you can be helped. Then, as we talk about the challenges, I would also like to mention about the cost and management of treating mental illness in Kenya. And I want to start by saying that it is underfunded, and there is even no separate budget for mental health. So we still have many challenges, and that is why there's even low awareness because of the funding. And also, it is important to say that in Kenya, there are about 100 psychiatrists for a population of 45 million. That is a ratio of 1 to 450,000. So you can imagine just one psychiatrist against 450,000. So you can already see how overwhelming it is. The burden is big. Even the clinical psychologists and medical workers who are central to the management and treatment of mental illness are quite few. I can assure you that even the number of clinical psychologists are quite few in Kenya today. So with that said, looking at the ongoing mental health interventions in Kenya, it is important for all stakeholders to take up mental health as a serious health issues. So I would like to say that as Kudheiha, you are also a stakeholder, and you also need to take up mental health issues within your various spaces of work. We begin from there as we now progress to the whole country. So there's need for intensive awareness campaigns, which I want to congratulate Kudheiha because this is what is ongoing. Prevention is also important. Let us do what we can do to prevent mental disorders. Early symptoms as well. Can we identify early symptoms? Can we be able to intervene in good time? And also management. And if the condition is already there, now we speak about management and treatment. Also, we pray that the government can allocate more funding to mental health services. That is a good thing. And also train more health workers. And finally, at the community level, we talk about grassroots advocacy. That means that we begin advocacy from the community level, and we create opportunities for empowerment and also to demystify stigma, because the stigma is there and it is much. When we are talking of mental illness as curses, as witchcraft, we are merogwa na mambo kama hii familia wamerogwa, unaona ni walevi wote and things like that. We need now to be able to start from the grassroots and understand that even problems such as alcoholism, drug use are actually mental problems. So at least these are some of the interventions that we can take up from where we are. I hope we are moving on together and that I'm not too fast. I want us to just quickly define what mental health is. And I want to define mental health according to World Health Organization and mention that it is a state of well-being in which every individual realizes their own potential, can cope with normal life stresses, can work productively, fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to the community. So that is what mental health is. We are talking about a general well-being. And as I'd said, there's no health without mental health. So every individual who is healthy is able to realize their potential. Very key. Is able to cope with normal life stresses. Why I'm calling them normal life stresses is because every day in our lives, there are those stressors that we experience. It can be anything, even from waking up late, utachelewa kazi, traffic, that is a stressor. Getting to work upate kama kumeibiwa, that is a stressor. Those are things we have not planned for, but along the way, you find that they happen or they occur. Ama bibi amekuacha, that is a stressor. So all these things happen, and we need to be able to cope with these life stresses as they come. Then we need to be able to also work productively. That whatever we are doing, is it productive? Is there progression? Okay. And being fruitful as well. And finally, being able to make contribution to the community. Are we able to contribute to the community? So these are the things that encompass our mental health. And for sure, if we can achieve these things, you find that even mental health or mental problems will be kept away. Then I want to talk about how we can recognize the symptoms. And I'm not talking about symptoms of a specific mental health disorder. I think we will get another opportunity to discuss mental health disorders as well. These are general symptoms that we might be having. For one to recognize a behavior as abnormal and therefore an illness, it has to satisfy the following criteria. I call them the 4Ds. So the first thing is distress to either the person or those around. So when there's a mental health problem, you find that there'll be a lot of distress, meaning that there'll be a bit of strain in the person's life or how they relate again to other people. I would also like to mention deviance. That is different from how the person is usually. So you will notice a change in how the person is. If they were usually a person who is very social, outgoing, all of a sudden you notice that they are withdrawn. You notice that they are quiet, they are not talking to anybody, and they don't look happy. They look like they're in a low mood. Or if even they used to be a cool person naturally from childhood, then all of a sudden they're very excited people, very talkative. You know, so long as you have noticed a change, that is deviance from their usual self, then that could be a symptom of a mental illness. Then the other D is danger. Whether you're posing either to yourself or to others. So there's a way we can be a danger to ourselves. And we have seen people who have attempted to die by suicide. They have attempted to hang themselves. For people who are working or people who have access to firearms, they have tried to shoot themselves and things like that, drown themselves. And even to others, that they have threatened other people with a knife. Nitakudunga wewe, nikikupata leo nitakudunga. You know, there are threats that can be given to other people. And even at the workplace, this has happened, that someone will just say something that is threatening or sounds threatening to somebody else. And finally, you find that they do it. The other D is dysfunction. There'll be dysfunction at work, family, or even at personal level. And if I might talk a little bit more about dysfunction, you will notice that the person now is not able to manage their work the way they used to before. So even their family might have problems or issues. So you find that with dysfunction, they might be coming to work late. They are not able to complete their tasks at work. With the family, you find that there are always issues, not only with communications, interpersonal issues, how they relate with each other. Even at work, how this individual relates with other people at work is always problematic. And also at a personal level, they are not able to get to work on time. They don't appear clean. Hata nywele, if it's a lady, they will not even do their hair so that they are clean and neat. And these challenges can be noticed. And then also, I added their cultural appropriateness. I know that there are those things that are appropriate to some cultures. But also, there are those ones that you know very well that this culture or this person does not ascribe to this particular culture. So there must be something wrong. So these are some of the ways to recognize symptoms of mental illness in an individual. So I wanted to just quickly ask you if we could take 2 minutes. Any one of you can unmute and just tell us what are some of the signs and symptoms of mental problems at the workplace. How are you able to tell that someone might be suffering from a mental problem at your workplace? Anybody can just share very quickly what they think. And don't worry, it doesn't have to be right or wrong. Just your thoughts. Who is ready? You can unmute. Shall I try Nakuru? I'd heard that the counties are here now. Nakuru, what do you think?
I think Zabron might have had his up. Zabron.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. You can identify a person with mental health. For example, when he changes the behavior by maybe keeping quiet for so long, but before that he was very active in the office.
Yes.
Sometimes he talks alone, and even sometimes he's forgetting things that he usually does in the office. So those are the symptoms of depression and mental health.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zabulon. I think you are on point. Keeping quiet a lot, you might find them talking to themselves. Kwanza hii kujiongelesha and you wonder what is happening. Okay, thank you very much. Another one?
Okay, morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I would like to try to say something on that.
Yes.
One might start coming to office late.
Yes.
You fail even to manage yourself. Sometimes you can find a person sleeping on his or her locker.
Yes.
And when you start talking to that person, you see as if she's crying, talking in an abnormal way.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Thank you very much. And that is also
Thomas,
very
you had his up.
true.
Thomas.
Thank you, Brother Karanja. Good morning.
You're welcome. Good morning.
And also reacting negatively, you may find that in a working place or at home, you find because of the several problems attached to those symptoms, you find that somebody reacts negatively. You will give instruction or you expect him to do the right thing, is doing a different thing, so that you may bring up issues negatively. Now you find the differences are caused due to those negative reactions. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for that. Negative reactions. Very, very true. One more.
Yes, Mwanja.
Yeah, I can try.
Yes.
You find someone who was not drinking is always at the bar, and of course, like you said, is always unkempt. All of a sudden, someone changes, like they're drinking too much and not showing up to work.
Very true. Thank you very much for that. And I can see that you actually are able to identify some of the signs and symptoms of mental health. And all the ones which have been mentioned are true. You'll find that a person will be more quiet. They will withdraw. Others will start talking to themselves. Maybe there are some voices they are hearing in their head. Other people will sleep too much. Other people will be able to manage themselves. Others will even cry because of they are not able to regulate their mood. Negative reactions might also occur, that you ask someone maybe a question, they are very irritable, hata vile anakujibu, you are left wondering, what did I say? Drinking as well, very, very common. And it is not, now, kitambo we used to say common amongst men, but nowadays even women, when they are stressors, many turn to alcohol and other substances also. Someone might also appear unkempt. So it is true. Thank you for that. And those are some of the signs and symptoms of mental health at the workplace. So I wanted to mention these specific ones. One of the signs and symptoms at the workplace, you might notice the person will withdraw from the team. They will isolate themselves. As I had mentioned earlier, that if this was a person who liked to interact, who liked to, was talkative, all of a sudden you will notice the change. And remember the 4 Ds. They will deviate from their usual self. Then putting things off or missed deadlines. So you find that if it was a person who was always punctual, you find that now things will change. They will miss their deadlines. They know that this work they were supposed to finish at this time. They are not able to do that. Or they'll keep on postponing and saying, no, this one I will do later. They are not able to manage themselves, as someone had been able to mention here earlier. Another one, which is common, is presenteeism. This is a very interesting one and very common, actually, and it might also go unnoticed. Presenteeism, a person will actually go to work, akosi kwenda kazi, but they don't do anything substantial at the workplace. Ako tu ndiye aonekane, but for sure they are not able to manage the work at hand. So this is also very common. I know on the other side, maybe I should have added absenteeism, which is more common, where the person does not show up at work at all. Maybe because alikunywa sana, so they are not able to show up, or they are sleeping too much because they are not able to cope, so they didn't show up at work. So presenteeism, they will show up at work, but as was mentioned here, you might find the person just maybe sleeping on their desk and they are not doing any work at all, na mambo kama hayo. Then they also might come late to work. This has also been mentioned, which is very common as well. They are regularly late. Once in a while, someone can get late, maybe problems with traffic or a challenge at home. Someone can get late once in a while. But when we notice that it is a daily occurrence, we must start thinking that there must be something going on. If this person is prone to accidents, might also be a sign and symptom of a mental problem. Kidogo kidogo amebeba hata ametoka jikoni na chai yake, ameteguka, ameiangusha, which is very, and na sio leo tu, it is something that happens frequently. It might mean that the person might be having problems with concentration, and that is why they are not able to focus on what they are doing. Okay, or even if they were typing some work, there are always so many mistakes on the work, or things which have been left out or forgotten, which are very crucial or important. So those are the kinds of accidents I'm talking about, and it might be due to low concentration, due to the stressors that a person might be having. There's also lack of confidence, or a person might be unsure of their abilities. And I want to say that this one goes hand in hand with a problem such as anxiety as well. Or I could also talk about other childhood problems that a person might have experienced. So their self-esteem is low. They are very experienced people, but because they do not believe in themselves, you find that they are not able to work effectively. They are unsure of their abilities. Again, there is low motivation, or they look detached. This also is a common sign and symptom at the workplace. They are there at work, but even from the mood, you can tell that they are not even enjoying their work. They are just there to earn whatever they can earn at the end of the month. Again, inappropriate reactions or change in attitude. This was also mentioned. Someone mentioned negative reactions, which is very true. That sometimes you might talk to someone, or even just simply ask someone a question about something which has not been done. And the way they respond, the way they answer back, can already tell you that there's a problem. They will snap back, they will be very irritable, they will even be more angry than you who has been aggrieved. They can even begin to fight you out of nowhere. So this can also happen, which means that there is some kind of impulsive behavior that is going on. Strained relationships is also another sign at the workplace that we are talking about, not relationships at the workplace. I know that there can be challenges also at home, but at the workplace, between the co-workers, you might notice that these people don't see eye to eye. And that would mean that even productivity at work will be low. So this is another important symptom. Someone might be having challenges or psychosocial stressors leading to this strained relationship. And we will talk about a very important subject on emotional intelligence, which is important for us to be able to understand ourselves and to be able to also understand the other people that we are working with. Then we could also have a change in appearance. Someone who was usually kempt, neat, all of a sudden you notice that they are not doing their hair, hawaendi kinyozi, nguo hazijapaswa, yeye anafika tu, hata viatu hazijapigwa rangi. So this can happen. And also increased stress levels, that you can notice that a person is looking very stressed from their physical and facial expressions. So these are some of the signs and symptoms that we might notice at the workplace. And I want to say these ones are general. They're not specific to any condition. So in other words, when we notice someone is experiencing these signs and symptoms, what can we do? I would like to say that it is important to point it out and say that I have noticed this and this and this changes in you, and tell them that you can be of assistance. And if you cannot be of assistance, you can refer them to a place where they can be assisted. So that can go a long way in just supporting persons with these symptoms at the workplace. So I want us to look at some few staff skill development, which is important. What are some of the skills that we need to have in order to be able to progress well in our work? And I am looking at the time, so I will just go right to the skills. The first one is communication skills. And these are skills that allow you to understand and be understood by others. Very, very key. And when we talk about communication skills, we are talking about being able to effectively communicate ideas to others. That means being able to pass information to other people, and those other people you're passing information to are able to understand your communication. Okay? The other thing is actively listening in conversations. As other people are speaking, are you able to get what they're saying? And active listening is not about the ears only. It goes beyond. It goes beyond to even what you are seeing is part of active listening. I know that a lot of times we think that listening is to the ear alone, but we can listen also with other parts of the body by being observant, by looking at whether there's a relationship between what is being said and the body language of that person. So all these things constitute active listening, which is a communication skill that we can learn to have. Then giving and receiving critical feedback. We can only give critical feedback if we are listening actively. And it is important to know that these things are related one way or another. If you are in a space where someone is saying something and you're not attentive to what they're saying, you find that you will not be able to give adequate or critical feedback. So this is equally important. Are we able to give feedback as per what is being said? Are we able also to be in a position to receive feedback? Meaning that we are receptive of the information that is being given to us by other people. That when somebody says something, for example, about you as a manager, you know, that boss, nowadays, you don't do this and this and this. There are things that even the people who are under us will see. And that is important feedback from them. Are we able to take it up? And then finally, public speaking. Are we able to speak in front of people? And this goes hand in hand. This is a very key element in communication skills, because in the positions that you hold, are you able to communicate effectively to the people around you, to the people that you are working with, so that you are able to have a productive work environment? So in communication skills, active listening is very important, as I had mentioned. And it means paying close attention to the person speaking to you. So are you keenly listening to what is being said? And it really helps to look at the person who is talking to you, to look at their expression, facial expression, their body language, even as you listen keenly to what is being said. You will notice that persons who are experiencing mental challenges might not be able to listen actively because of the stressors that they're experiencing. When we have stressors, we are constantly thinking about the stresses that we are going through or that we are having at that moment in time. You're in a meeting at the workplace, but your mind is at home. I argued with my husband. What is happening now? What must he be thinking about me? You know, I left my child. She's unwell. What is happening? Okay? And things like that. So you find that they'll not be able to listen attentively. So people who are active listeners are well regarded by their co-workers because of the attention and respect they accord others. So that is true. For people, and you will notice that even in your spaces of work, we are really drawn to people who really listen. And how do we know that they listen? It's because they are patient, even as you are speaking. It is because also they are able to give feedback in relation to the things that you're telling them. One can be an active listener by focusing on the speaker. Very, very key. Again, by avoiding distractions like cell phones, laptops, or other projects. This is quite common. Very many people are addicted to their phones today. That is the next addiction. I really believe that is the next thing that people will be coming to the hospital for. Addictions over social media, which of course includes gadgets like phones and laptops. So you find that, again, that can be another way of active listening. Let us avoid those distractions and focus on what is being said. Then you can prepare questions in advance. Very, very key. And when, for example, you're in a staff meeting and there are challenges perhaps at the workplace, or there are some positive points that you as an individual wants to share with the rest of the staff, it is important to prepare in advance, and we can prepare questions. Again, we also can prepare comments or ideas to thoroughly respond to. So preparation is good in active listening, and this can really help us in our communication with the rest of our co-workers. So how do you adapt your communication style to your audience? So different styles of communication are appropriate in different situations. So it depends on where we are and who we are talking to. It is important to consider your audience and the most effective format to communicate. So think about the people you are going to address. And in other words, for example, you could think about the language they best understand. If it is Kiswahili, can you communicate in Kiswahili? Okay. If it is, if perhaps it was children, you would have to bring yourself down to your level and use simple words that they can understand. So at the workplace, this could be through a formal email, good way of communicating and ensuring that everybody has received the information. You could make a phone call to the appropriate person. You could do a formal typed letter. I know letters are not so common nowadays, but some still do. Or communicate complex information in person. or through video conferencing. So depending on how your target audience and how soon you also want the information to reach. If it is somebody in the same workplace with you and there's something that needs to be done immediately, you could give the information to them in person instead of writing an email and hoping that they will see it soon. They might see it 2 hours later, and that will beat the purpose. So that is equally important in communication. So to communicate effectively at the workplace, it is important to be clear and concise. So keep the message easy to consume. Very, very important. Speak in simple terms that people can understand and let them be clear about what has been said. Practice empathy. What is this empathy? We always say empathy is putting yourself in the shoes of someone else, in someone else's position. So understand your colleagues' feelings, ideas, and also goals. This is not a very easy thing to do for some people, practicing empathy. But if you want progression at the workplace, if you want productivity at the workplace, it is important to start practicing empathy, meaning that you think of your other colleagues as if it were you in the same space. That if it were me in this position that this person is in, what would I have wanted for myself? That is how you start practicing empathy. And when you practice empathy, it is recognized, it is noted by other people. So be calm and consistent. So we want to maintain a consistent body language and keep an even tone of voice. So the tone of voice is important when you are trying to communicate or pass information. Even if it is an urgent matter, it can still be you can still communicate urgency without sounding irritated, without sounding aggressive. So that is also important, trying to be calm and consistent. It really just helps the other person to be able to effectively work. Then use and read body language. That is also equally important. And I mentioned this earlier. You want to pay close attention to the way you might be communicating with your body language and how others are sending messages with their facial expressions and movements. So sometimes you are saying something, but unaona watu wanajichuna hapo nyuma, you know, or they're elbowing each other because of what you have said. And that is why partly I'd said in communication, it is important to be an active listener. Not only what is being said, but be a keen observer of what is happening around you. So be able to read body language as well as part of active listening. And you'll be able to tell whether you are on the right track or not in regard to your communication. I also want to talk about time management skills, which are very important. These are a variety of skills that help one to manage their time well. So this includes organization, very, very key, where we need to maintain an up-to-date calendar. We need to have easy access or location of documents as part of being organized. We need to have a tidy environment. Very, very key. There are people who you cannot even find anything anywhere. Hata kikutuma hapo kwa desk yake enda uchuku, you can't find it because of the way the environment, their desk is not tidy at all. Detailed or diligent notes are equally important. The kind of notes that you take even in meetings, they need to be detailed and they need to be diligent. All these are important in time management. Being organized is very, very key in everything that we are doing in order to be able to manage our time effectively. If you find that you cannot arrange your documents in a way that you are easily able to find them, that is already a waste of time. because you will be there looking for those documents instead of finding what you need and moving on to the next assignment. If you don't have a timetable for activities, you find that that again will be a challenge, because you find that now perhaps in the morning is when you want to start planning for this and that and the other. And sometimes the plans might not go as you need them to be. So early planning is good. You can plan for the whole week that this and this and this need to happen on these particular days, and that will be better time management. So apart from organization, prioritization is important. When we have several tasks at the workplace, we need to be able to prioritize. So assess each of your responsibility and prioritize from there. Which one is most important? Which one is most urgent that I need to manage or deal with first? Then goal setting is important. It enables you to clearly understand your end goal and what to prioritize to accomplish. So we can have goals, we can have daily goals, we can have weekly or even monthly goals, or even annual ones. So depending on the kind of goal that you have set, we need to work accordingly. If you have a daily target, we need to be able to organize ourselves well in order to achieve our target for the day. So if there are certain number of customers that you need to have served, within the day, we need to be able to check how best we can work in order to be able to achieve that. Then communication, and I want to say also about goals, that goals need to be smart, very important. That means that whatever goals that we have, can we ensure that they are achievable? Can we ensure that they are in a certain time frame? That goals cannot just be left to be open. No. Let us say that by this time, this is the period of time we want to have achieved this particular goal, and let it be something that is achievable. Isikuwe kitu ambayo, even you as you look at it, you're not even sure if you can do half of what you have set to do. And let them be specific. Can it be clear that this is exactly how you want to go about achieving this goal? Then communication, we had talked about it, and we had said that having strong communication skills will allow for delegation and let you focus on completing the most important, relevant tasks. Now, there are people who have a problem with delegating duties. I want to remind us that we are not Superman. I'm a Wonder Woman. Can we know that we need to delegate some of the work to other people so that we can focus on other more important tasks? So as managers or as persons working in different places, can we look at delegation as a way to be able to just expand even our time frame for more important things which we need to focus on? And when I talk of more important things, it can even be things beyond the workplace. There are those of us who work and work and work, hata kwao hawajui kunaendaje, hata bibi hujui ako namna gani, ama bwana yako hujui hata amekula nini. So we can allow for delegation where necessary. And this is a part of having strong communication skills. Can we delegate where necessary? Assign somebody else this task, assign somebody else the other task, and just make a follow-up. Planning, equally important. Let us do daily planning, meetings, and how you accomplish things will help you to stick to your schedule. I'd mentioned this briefly. Delegation, very important as well. I've just talked about it. It is mostly practiced by managers, but also important to practice having boundaries to better manage your time. Stress management is also quite important. Handling stress in a positive way can help you stay motivated and also perform well. How we handle our stress is important. As I had mentioned earlier, stress itakuwa kila siku, one way or another. Even when you have planned yourself well, something will always come up because we are not living as an island. We are living in a social environment. So can we expect that some stresses will come, even if it's not from you, from somewhere, to just interrupt or disrupt your well-planned work? So how do we manage the stress as it comes? Then I want to squeeze in emotional intelligence. I feel that this is very important to briefly talk about. And what is this emotional intelligence? It is the ability to understand, use, and manage your emotions in positive ways. Are you able to understand your emotions? Even this morning, vile umeamuka, did you stop to think about how you felt about this morning? You know, I would, if I might give an example, this morning, I would say I woke up feeling excited that I am coming in to facilitate or to talk about mental health issues because I'm passionate about mental health. So how do you feel in the morning? Are you able to use and manage your emotions in a positive way as a result? So emotional intelligence allows us to relieve stress. When you're emotionally intelligent, whatever stresses you have, you'll be able to manage them. You'll be able to communicate effectively because you know, for example, if you are annoyed or angry at somebody, you understand why you are angry, you understand why you are annoyed, and you will tell yourself that this happened because of 1, 2, 3. You'll be able to give yourself time to analyze, and from that point, you'll be able to now communicate in an appropriate manner, even despite feeling the way you're feeling. You will be able to empathize with others when you have emotional intelligence. You will be able to overcome challenges that you might be having. Because when you have emotional intelligence, you are at a place where you understand your emotions well. So that means it gives you room to be able to look at your challenges objectively. And you'll also be able to diffuse conflict. Again, people with a high degree of emotional intelligence know what they are feeling and their emotions mean and how the emotions can affect other people. Very, very key at the workplace. Are you able to understand what other people at the workplace are going through, the emotions they are having and what they are feeling? Very, very important. So I would like us to look at some key elements of emotional intelligence. One of the things that is important is self-awareness. So you are self-aware when you always know how you feel, you know how emotions and actions can affect other people. So that is what self-awareness means. Starting by yourself, do you have an understanding of how you feel? And do you know how your emotions and actions can affect other people? In the position that you are in, there are things that we will say, there are things that we will do that will actually express our feeling, but will also express your emotion. You will also express your how you're feeling and reactions to other people. That is very, very important. It also means having a clear picture of your strengths and weaknesses and behaving with humility. When we are self-aware, you know what your strengths are. You know what your weaknesses are. So to improve our self-awareness, some of the things we can do is to keep a journal. You want to write your thoughts. You want to be able to just analyze your thoughts. I was thinking about this today, that this issue affected me in this way. And you're able to look at it critically, and you're able also to understand yourself better. You also can slow down to improve your self-awareness. Sometimes we act impulsively, sometimes we rush into things a lot. So when we slow down, we are able to experience our emotions. Strong emotions such as anger can be experienced. That why am I feeling very angry? What has happened? Okay, was there a way this could have been avoided? if I was in their shoe? Would the same thing have happened to me? And this can help us to calm down and manage issues well. Self-regulation is also important in emotional intelligence. It involves staying in control to avoid verbal attacks, making rushed or emotional decisions, stereotyping people, or compromising their value. We must be self-regulated. This is a skill we can learn, meaning that we are able to be in control. Even if mambo imeenda juu, there is an argument between your colleagues, na imeshika moto kabisa, you're not there to fuel the fire. Kwanza wewe ndio unakuanga hivyo kabisa, hiyo ni ukweli. So we want to be able to be regulated in such a way that we're able to avoid the attacks, and we don't make rushed decisions, that we are the people in between who are able to calm things down and help make decisions which are objective. So it involves flexibility and commitment to personal accountability. So how can we improve our self-regulation? Know your values as a person. Are they good values? Hold yourself accountable. Kama unajua you are involved in one way or another to some of the challenges being experienced, it is good to hold yourself accountable. Practice being calm. Calmness is not easy to achieve for some people. There are people who are always very annoyed, very easily, very quickly. So over time, you can practice to be calm. Take a deep breath before you open your mouth to speak, just to calm yourself, so that even when you are sharing what you're sharing, it is not communicated in anger. Emotional intelligence also requires motivation, and self-motivation is the key to goal achievement and high standards to quality of work. So are you self-motivation? Are you motivated? Are you self-driven? Okay. And to achieve motivation, re-examine why you're doing your job. Why are you at that workplace? Is it the place where you want to be? Know where you stand as a person. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Even if you are seeing you've been there for a while, there's no promotion coming through, be optimistic, okay? Be hopeful that something might come out of it. Motivation is important. And then there's empathy. And we had talked about empathy, putting yourself in someone else's situation. And we can improve our empathy by putting yourself in someone else's position. Jiweke tu kwa kiatu chake. If I was in this position of so and so, how would it be? Even if it is a boss, even if it is someone in a lower position, okay? Try to put yourself in their position. Pay attention to body language as well. Remember, we had mentioned body language is important, and respond to feelings. Please tell them you understand what they are going through. You understand what they are feeling, being in the situation that they are in at the moment. Social skills is important in emotional intelligence. It is the ability to communicate effectively, manage change, and resolve conflicts diplomatically. Are we able to manage change? If you are moved from this department to the other department, are you able to cope with that? That is part of social skills. So in building our social skills, learn conflict skills at least. Improve your communication skills. We had talked about that. And learn how to praise others. Can you be a person who acknowledges the good in other people? Kuna watu hakuna kitu mzuri anaweza kukuambia. Hata utokee tu kama umevaa vizuri. Anakuona tu na hawezi kusema uko smart. Even for men, we can always compliment them. That's a nice tie you are wearing today. That's a nice suit you have on. Hizo viatu zimeng'ara. Praise others. Kazi yako is good. You really understand how to deal with customers. Can you give me some tips? So social skills are important. So I think I'd put on too much, but I believe this should be the final one. Problem-solving skills are equally important skills to know about. In problem-solving, because we're in our different environments, we will usually have challenges. Problems will be there. So what do we do? First of all, define the problem. What is the problem? Can it be clear that this is the problem? Kwa saa zingine kuna shida, but tunajificha tu hapo nyuma, covering it up. Can we clearly define the problem? Higher. Identify alternative solutions after we know what the problem is. What are the different other solutions that can be to this problem? Can we evaluate these different solutions? Do an evaluation. If we take this approach, what will happen? What are the pros and cons? If we take this position, what are the pros and cons? Select a solution. After you have evaluated all this, now select and say, this one, I think it will work best. And problem solving skills, you can use them not only at the workplace, hata nyumbani, mahali kuna shida. Problems with relationships, this can work. Select a solution to your problems, and let us say we are using this as the solution. Implement the chosen solution, and then monitor the progress. Is it working? Is there a positive change, or still the problem is maintained? If the problem is still there, can we go back to evaluations? Can we look for plan B and try again? So problem solving skills are important as well. Patrick, if I might be guided, I don't know whether I should complete or time is not on our side.
I think you have 5 minutes more.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So we are still talking about those skills which are important for us. And I want to also speak to stress management. And just to mention, stress is how our body reacts to pressure from a certain situation or event, physical, mental, or even emotional. So how our body reacts is important. It could be pressure from work. It could be pressure from home. It could be pressure from within ourselves, because we sometimes, depending on our personalities, we might allow ourselves to have pressure from within. And there are two main types of stress I would like to mention. There's acute stress, which is a short-term stress. For example, you might have a challenge talking in front of a group of people. That can be a stressor for some people. And there can be chronic stress, which occurs when we let stress spiral for too long. That uko na stress hapa, ingine pale, or it could be one issue that is, that you have let it be there for too long. And stress can have damaging effects on our physical, mental, and even emotional health. So we have seen people being stressed until a point where they have to be admitted in hospital because of the stressors they're having. So it is important to know that not all stress is bad, as it can also keep you focused and make you more aware. So some level of stress is good. Maisha haiwezi kuwa too smooth all the way. Some level of stress is good. It keeps you active. It keeps you alert. It keeps you thinking about the way forward and inventing ways to move forward. So it is okay to have some little stress. But when it is there, how do we manage it? Track your stressors. Check where these stressors are coming from. Very, very important to know where your stress is coming from. And I want to say that this one is part of being self-aware, understanding yourself. Sorry. Then develop healthy responses to stress. That when you are stressed, how do you respond to it? For example, if there's a lot of pressure at work, how do you respond to that? Can you delegate some of the work to reduce your stress? Can you manage your time better to reduce your stress, isn't it? Can you make sure that when you go at home, you don't carry any work, so that when you are at home, you are at home. When you are at work, you are at work. Establish boundaries. And a good example is just what I've mentioned. Can work be work and home be home time? That is part of establishing boundaries. Even at the workplace, you know what your JD is, job description yako. Can you focus on your job description? There are people who work until they end up doing even the work ya watu wengine. So at the end of the day, your boundaries are not well established. Take time to recharge, very important. Away from work, please take time to recharge. If you can do something that you enjoy, please do it. If you can, just chill, watch a movie, when you have the time, go out for a walk, visit with some friends. If you are a spiritual person, go for a retreat, something like that. Take time to recharge. Learn how to relax, very important. Kuna watu wengine they do not know what to relax means. Ni kazi. Hata akikupata umekaa chini anaona ni shida. That you cannot even take 5 minutes to just recharge. So we need to learn how to relax in order for our system to also now get accustomed to just lowering whatever stress levels that we might be having. Talk to your supervisor. When you're having challenges, talk to your supervisor. Mwambie, I'm having challenges here and here and here. Or I am seeing this and this problems. What can we do? Get some support. If you're not coping, if you're having stressors at the workplace, at home, within yourself, can you get some support? It helps to talk even to your supervisor about some of the challenges you might be experiencing. Or sometimes the supervisors might not understand that you're going through challenges until you say, sometimes people might not know. So get somebody you feel you trust, talk to them, explain to them what you're going through, and you might also be able to get support. So those are some of the stress management skills. And together with the other skills that we have learned, I would say that this brings me to the end of my presentation. And I hope that this has been helpful for you as an individual and also to be able to relate better with others at your places of work. I always say that we are not an island. We live with other people. So in as much as we are looking at our individual selves, let us also learn how best we can relate with other people. And being people who are in business, people who are working, these skills are good to learn in order to improve our socioeconomic status and also improve our productivity. When we are in good mental health, you find that we are able to manage things better. And with that said, I want to thank you all very much for keenly listening. And maybe we could invite a question or two or a comment if possible. Thank you very much.
Colonel Ouda hand was up.
Oh yes, Colonel. Please unmute.
Senior, the time is yours. Unmute and make your comments.
Mm-hmm.
You are muted, Mr. Aunda. You're muted.
I'm saying.
Oh yes, thank you. Thank you,
Yes,
Joan.
we can hear you now.
I was asking, is a stress a disease?
Thank you for that question, Ounda. I want to say that stress is not a disease. It is not one of the mental disorders, but I want to call it one of the psychosocial challenges that we might be having, okay? So it is not a disease, but I would like to say that it can also be a symptom of one of the mental disorders, especially depression, or even a problem such as bipolar, okay? So someone might be having many stressors, and therefore they might end up now getting the actual disease, such as depression. So we can refer to it as a symptom, not a disease. So remember, we had said all of us experience stressors, and stressors are there every day of our lives. They are not, some are unavoidable, some are unavoidable. Yeah. Thank you,
Thank
Ounda,
you.
for that.
Thank you.
Sablon, I see you have something.
I think we need to take the last question from Sabron Maida, and then we wind up because of time.
Thank you.
Okay, my question is, can stress be a catalyst of a disease?
Say again, can stress?
Can stress be a catalyst of a disease?
Yes, thank you for that question you have asked. Stress can be a catalyst of a disease. You see, when we are stressed, we are constantly thinking about that thing which is stressing us. So it means that it is constantly in our mind. And this is now how we start having changes in mood. Remember, I'd mentioned that there's a relationship between our thoughts, how our emotions are, and how our behavior is. Those three things are related. So when we are stressed, we are constantly thinking about that thing which is stressing us. Okay? For example, if I might give an example that maybe, let me give an easy one of relationships, that I'm having problems at home with my spouse, for example, and you're constantly thinking about this problem at home, that no, my wife does not love me. The way she's treating me, she must be cheating on me, she must be doing this. So this is constantly in your mind. That is a stressor. But the fact that it is always in your mind, in the thought process, it means there's a way it is affecting how you feel. So our emotions are affected. You start having a low mood. Now you are not as happy as you used to be. You are easily irritable. Okay? Change in emotion. Then it goes ahead and also changes how we behave. You start to isolate yourself. Now you don't want to talk to people. You don't want to be where people are. So you can see this connection that can actually lead to a mental disorder, such as depression, for example, even anxiety or other problems altogether. So Zablon, thank you for that. It is true that stress can actually lead to a mental condition, too much stress that is not resolved. So thank you very much. Our moderator, Mr. Patrick, had mentioned that that be the last question. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for keenly listening and also for giving me the time to share what I had for you today. So I give it back to the moderator, Patrick.
Thank you, Maurine, for the wonderful presentation. Colleagues, we are very more empowered with that presentation. And to us, we are seeing this as an eye-opener, more so to the staff skill development. And before I give Charity time to wind up with a word of prayer, Coroner Ouda has some announcement he wants to make. So after the Coroner Ouda makes that announcement, Charity Amode, you take up and we'll close up with a word of prayer.
Thank you, Brother Karanja. I just wanted to remind my colleagues that this issue of KMTC, I gave out the information to all of you, especially the branches. So the followings are asking me the checkups. Kwale, Chwele, Madare, Mbooni, Rachuonyo, Kisumu, Brera, Isiolo, Makindu. Those branches, please, those campuses needs checkup as early as possible. Please send the checkup to those campuses. Thank you.
Charity, kindly close with a word of prayer.
Thank you. I want to take this opportunity to thank our facilitator for the informative session, and God bless you. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we want to thank you. We want to thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for those who have you have enabled us to have this session. Thank you because of this, whatever we have learned, help us to implement whatever we have learned, especially when we have stress. King of glory, we thank you because you are going to be with us. Thank you for each and everyone who had joined. Those who have not joined Jehovah King of Glory, we ask you that next time they have time so that they can also run as we have learned. We thank you because of our Katibu, our branch secretaries, each and every staff in each and every branch. We commit our week unto your able hearts. May you be with us as we continue with our daily activities. Be with us and guide us, for we pray this in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
And thank you.